Good morning and welcome to Thomas College. My name is Kim Linloff. I'm the President and CEO of the Maine Chamber. I'm also a proud Thomas College alum, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning. Before we begin, I want to thank our 2019 Business Breakfast Series sponsors. They include AT&T, Cross Insurance, People's United Bank, Nicholson, Michaud & Company, CPAs, O'Donnell, Lee, McCowan, and Phillips, attorneys at law. Our print media sponsor is the Morning Sentinel, and our radio sponsor is the Mix 107.9. I hope you had a chance to visit our spotlighter tables out back. We had Sam's Club, and they'll be giving away a premium membership today. And we have KVCC, Kennebec Valley Community College, and their door prize is going to be some KVCC t-shirts. If you didn't get a chance to put your business card in the fishbowl at the door, please do so now. Upcoming chamber events, the Central Maine Growth Council is holding a workshop on opportunity zones tonight. It's at Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space from 5 to 7, and it's at the, which is in the Hathaway building. It's going to be a really good presentation. We've got a local accounting firm talking about how to set up opportunity zones and take advantage of that for your region. Downtown Waterville was designated as an opportunity zone. On Wednesday, January 16th, next Wednesday, KeyBank on Main Street in Waterville is hosting the first business after hours of the year from 5:30 to 7. They've had extensive renovations at its building, and KeyBank would love to show that off. On February 6th, from 5 to 7, KV Connect and the Mid-Maine Chamber are hosting a Meet the Reps at the Chase Forum in the Bill and Joan Alphon Main Street Commons at 150 Main Street in downtown Waterville. We have an extensive list of legislators and city councilors and whatnot that are planning to attend. So if you have a legislative or local issue that you want to talk with them, you'll be able to talk to them face to face. It is free. The next business breakfast is going to be here on February 14th. Our guest is Neil Kiley. He's the president of Androscoggin Bank. We also have the Business to Business Showcase coming up at Colby on March 28th. Forms are available at the registration table by the door. On your table is an evaluation form. Before you leave today, please take a second to complete it. You can just leave it on the table, or you can drop it off at the registration table on your way out. We will be providing the feedback to our speaker as well as our Business Breakfast Series committee so that we can do all we can to enhance our breakfasts. And please take a minute to turn off your cell phone if you have it on you. Thank you. And it's now my pleasure to welcome my friend, Beth Gibbs. She's the Senior Vice President here for Financial Affairs at Thomas College, and she's going to introduce our speaker this morning. Beth?
Good morning and welcome to Thomas College. Our speaker today is a pro at utilizing innovative methods to attract and retain talent for one of Maine's top companies. Giovani Twigge joined IDEXX in August of 2010 as the Chief Human Resource Officer. He has over 30 years of domestic and international HR experience. Prior to IDEXX, Gio held international HR leadership roles supporting employee bases of up to 12,000 people for multi-million-dollar company Abbott Laboratories. Over a period of 12 years, he progressed through roles ranging from regional HR director to divisional vice president of HR, focused on growth, change management, and turnaround. This included the successful turnaround of Abbott's $3.5 billion diagnostics division, as well as the separation of the company's U.S. and international nutrition businesses into a newly formed $4 billion global division with 6,000 employees. At the regional level, Gio provided HR leadership for multi-country areas under Abbott International, including European operations comprised of 31 affiliates and 56,000 employees. During this time, he led a number of key initiatives ranging from reorganizations to talent-focused programs in Latin America, Canada, Europe, and the Middle East. Today, Gio will teach us what methods we should consider in improving our approach to attracting and retaining talent in this environment of competition for the best employees. He will also discuss why traditional approaches are more likely to fail. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Giovani Twigge from IDEXX.
Morning, everybody. And thank you very much for the invitation and for being up here at Colby and or at Thomas College. And yeah, see, I need more coffee, right? So let me begin first by wishing you all a very happy, a very healthy, and a very prosperous 2019. I've been asked to come and talk this morning about sharing some of the work that we've been doing in revamping how we find the talent that fuels the growth of IDEXX. I've been there now for 8 years. So what I'm going to share with you this morning, I don't know so much if it's not so much teaching, but I'll share some of the examples in our experiences over the last 8 years, right? And I'll want to begin by the caveat of saying that those experiences, yes, we are a very large company, but those experiences started with an example of how one individual manager changed and put the whole paradigm of finding and recruiting talent upside down. And we looked and mimicked that leader in terms of why are you so successful versus everybody else that is not so successful. And we mimicked those examples of how he does it and his behavior, and then we scaled that for all of IDEXX. So what we've done applies to an individual with no HR support or no infrastructure behind them to a company that's the size of IDEXX with over 8,000 people on a global basis now. And so I'll share with you some of the examples that we've done where we do leverage technologies and investments that in a very small business you may not have, but those investments are needed to help scale it. So I'm going to go through the whole gambit and challenge that piece first. So let me begin first by sort of adding a little bit about myself. Giovani Twigge, by now you probably have picked up that this accent is from away. English is my second language. I'm originally from South Africa. So throughout the presentation, this next 50 minutes that we can spend together, if there is any typos, any grammars, any issues, if you do not understand me, my caveat is English is my second language, and that's what I'm going to stick to. So for now, I work with IDEXX. How many of you have heard of IDEXX? How many of you have a dog, a cat, a horse? Good, so I'm in the right company here. And those of you who don't raise your hand, let's talk afterwards, right? I am the proud owner of, this is now where grammar challenges me, English challenges me, the proud owner, I was going to say, of 2 Maine Coon cats. That is one of them, one of my buddies. It's about a 20-pounder, Hoshi. She's a Japanese name for star. She's the star in our lives. Except Hoshi passed away late last year of very rare and a very aggressive cancer. But she's been with us for 8 years. Her sister is still with us, and I'll introduce you to her sister a little bit later on, right? But I have, to be precise, 35 years now spent in the HR world and working with people and business from South Africa. I went to night school, educated myself, and then when I was about 29, I was around just about a year after the Gulf War finished. I went to the Middle East, worked in the Middle East, been there about 7 years, worked there for Abbott Labs. Abbott Labs brought me to Chicago. My first introduction into the US was right before 9/11. Then spent some time in Paris, with Europe, and however with growing businesses in all shapes and forms. Businesses that is turnaround, businesses that is high growth environments, both publicly traded companies as well as privately owned companies. So, and that's where I shaped my life, my career. I have never, with the exception of living in Maine, lived in one place for more than 5 years in my life, right? My dad worked in construction, which meant project is done, we moved on around the world. And, you know, I guess I couldn't get that out of my genes, and so I carried on with that one. Until like 8 years ago, I became a US citizen, moved to Maine, and joined IDEXX Labs. And this is now where we've bought a house, we're renovating that house, and this is where I will retire, right? Not soon yet, and I have, I guess, a lot more energy behind me, as long as IDEXX will have me, right? So some of the examples I'm going to share with you really has to do with IDEXX. So quickly, who is IDEXX? Our whole purpose of IDEXX is to enhance the health and well-being of pets, people, and livestock. And we're doing it by focusing on 3 segments. The very first segment is focusing on pet healthcare. That's about 86% of our business. We have a very, very attractive business in water safety. We're basically the leading provider of diagnostic for water testing around the world. Very, very attractive little business. But you can see it is all around the science of diagnostics. And then we have a very attractive business as well in herd health screening, right? Where we screen for diseases. You've heard about foot and mouth disease, right? Those are the kind of avian flu. That's where we help developing testing, and we can rapid. Those things are not necessarily cyclical. They happen. They come up very quickly. We have to come up with diagnostics for it very quickly, ramp up, and provide it so that they can then eradicate that. And that's where our specialty lies. But 80% of our business is focused on pet healthcare. And in pet healthcare, it's a broad spectrum from anything from nutrition to diagnostics to pharmaceuticals. Our core focus has been for quite a while is on providing innovative diagnostics and cloud-based software solution for the veterinary industry. We're not in nutrition, we are not in pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals was part of our business a way long time ago. It's a very attractive, very healthy business, but we remain solely focused on providing innovative diagnostics. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that by numbers. I'll give you a couple of numbers. We're, from a revenue perspective, $2.2 billion. Market cap perspective, about $17 to $18 billion. It just depends on which day you look at the stock price these days. I mean, one day is up, one day is down, but roughly about $17 to $18 billion in market cap. We grow organically 10%. Roughly 10% annually, double digits, low double digits. We have been doing that for about 20 years straight. Organic growth, we do not grow by acquisitions. If we do an acquisition, it's a very surgical, very small acquisition that enhances the focus of what we do. We create our own growth. And we have about roughly 8,000 people around the world globally. If you look at those financial numbers and you look deeper down in the financial numbers, this puts us, IDEXX, proudly in the top 5% of Fortune 500 companies in the US. Last year, we became, also proudly about this time of the year, a member of the Fortune 500 companies in the US. We are the only Fortune 500 company in Maine that is now a member of the Fortune 500. But also remember, for those who do not know, IDEXX was founded about 35 years ago on the waterfront in Portland. We are Maine-made. We have grown in Maine, and down in our campus in Westbrook, where we have about almost 3,000 of our employees, that's our main campus. That's where most of our R&D happens. That's where most of our manufacturing happens. We have not outsourced that, so we are very proud to be in Maine, and we continue to grow. But where does it begin? It begins on the pet healthcare, which is basically our area where we focus most on. It's focused on this bond between human and animal. We passionately believe that bond between human and animal enhances the human condition. Now, for those of you who raised your hands, who said you have a pet, you can probably, I don't have to convince you, right? But research and studies shows that this is true, that having a pet enhances the human condition. There's numerous studies that shows if you have a dog in the workplace, or allows dogs in the workplace, stress goes down. People talk to each other more chances for collaboration happening. Now, early on at breakfast table, I was talking with my friend Craig here, who works at Murdoch's, and he said his best date where he and his wife started dating off was, to go shopping on a Friday night, right? So others have known that if you have a dog and you want to meet somebody, take them to the dog park, right? They're more likely to start reaching out to you and to talk to you. Studies have shown having a dog in the workplace reduces stress significantly. If you're recovering from a cardiovascular issue, dogs improves the speed of your recovery. You can go after study that shows how the human condition is improved through that human-pet bond. And that is our that's our passion. That's our passion that bonds people who work for IDEXX. IDEXXs around the world are passionate about this. And then that drives us to say that we know a dog and a cat's life is short. And if that bond is so strong and so meaningful, what can we do to improve and extend that bond? And we focus passionately around diagnostics, and we enhance the way that diagnostics is delivered to the veterinary care industry, so that if you can do an early detection of a medical condition and see what's going on, there can be an early intervention, and you can extend that life of the dog and the pet, hence strengthening the bond between pet and hen. What you see in here is just one example of one of the innovations that we brought to market. This was about 2 years ago. That little instrument on the desk there, on the counter, is called our SediVue analyzer. It's called SediVue. It's a urine sediment analyzer. Who knew? Urine is pure liquid gold. Within urine lies tons of crystals. Crystals that gives you an indication of an underlying medical condition. The problem with urine, apart from the fact that it's pretty messy, the crystals deteriorate pretty quickly. It is also very difficult to detect under a microscope, and that was the old method of detecting it. And you had to train lab techs to discover that and identify the crystals under there. Plus, I don't know about you, if you have a pet, if you're a pet owner, not easy to get urine from a dog and a cat.
When you want it.
When you want it. Absolutely. So what we've done with this innovation is to saying, well, most vets give up on doing a urine sediment analysis because it's so difficult. So with this one, we have developed a new innovation whereby we need microscopic amount of urine. It gets analyzed in the machine very quickly. Hundreds of photographs gets taken with a camera, high resolution camera inside the instrument. And then through the application of an artificial intelligence, those images gets analyzed and through algorithms identified and distinct different crystals from each other. And with every photograph that is taken, that algorithm through artificial intelligence becomes smarter and smarter. We've now taken over 30 million images already with where we've got it analyzed. And with every couple of million, that software gets upgraded, and essentially the vet gets a brand new machine without doing anything. That becomes so smart. So this is one of the first applications of artificial intelligence in delivering and bringing innovative software solutions to the market, diagnostics and software solutions to the market. And so this is what we do. We do cool stuff. And this is what we tell employees. So we find an employee who has a passion about what we do. We are singularly focused. We know what we do. We stay on that line. We try to find people who shares that same passion. And then we allow them to do cool stuff, innovative stuff. Just one example of multiple that we have. And when you bring those two together, people are going to make stuff happen for you. And why I'm sharing this is some of this is where the clues lies in how we needed to revamp how we recruit from the traditional way of recruiting. So stay with me on that. But it's people that brings it and people that makes it happen, right? And we've got about 8,000 people. Those are some of the images on our campus down in Westbrook, right? And we continue to grow. This photograph is less than 24 hours. It's about 24 hours old, right? This is a photograph of our campus in Westbrook. This is about 135,000 square foot expansion that we're busy with right now. Once we complete this by the end of this year, we'll have about 750,000 square foot on our campus down in Westbrook. It's a continuous expansion. It makes it very exciting. So growth is in the order of the day. Those numbers that I showed you, the financial numbers that I showed you, we have a very strong 5-year strategic plan that continues that growth that we've seen in the past. That 8,000 number of employees that you've seen has almost double, as well as those financial numbers, are almost double than what it was when I joined the company. And if I look 5 years out, if I project 5 years out, random question, how many people do you think I need to hire in the next 5 years for IDEXX? If we have 8,000 today. 8,000. Craig says 8,000 is his guess. We have 8,000 today, 5 years ahead. So my math, is his math right? Anybody differs? Too high, too low? Too high. 3,000. 4,000. 2,500. Nice. This is like bidding here, right? But I have to give it to the first bidder. I don't know how he knows, but he's got exactly the right number. I sat next to him, I didn't tell him, I didn't feed him, I promise you. Good guess. We've done the analysis, and why do we do that? It's both our growth, but also retirement, where people turn over, right? There's a turnover happening. So we have to stay, if we want to fuel this growth, it's more than just saying to people, we do cool stuff in a cool space. We need to go out and find the right people, right? So here's just some of the numbers. This is a number of, we've filled 2,300 positions last year. Of that, 1,600 was brand new hires from the outside. The difference was because we also move people around within the company. We provide opportunities for growth within the company. And then this number, probably very hard to see here, but this is a breakdown from where those people came from, right? And you can see here, if you add it up, 65% of all new hires came through us directly hired, right? But then there's a number that says 29%, almost 30% from our number of employees came through referrals of existing employees. I want you to make a mental note of that, because that comes into play in terms of changing the paradigm of how we recruit, right? 29%, almost 30% of our hires came through referrals. And then look at that little number that's squeezed in there, 6%. 6% is the number that came through external hires. That came through external recruiters, agencies, right? We become less and less reliant on agencies and recruit ourselves through our recruitment function. I've got about 30 people in the world focusing simply on recruiters internally, but 29% comes from referrals. So, with a great purpose, with cool stuff, and with growing, of course it's easy to find people, right? Of course people want to come and work for us. This is what this picture shows. But what's wrong with this picture? Sorry? There's only one happy person. There's got to be the right skills. Sorry? They all look like Coca-Cola bottles. Anything else? Here's a couple of things. One, there's an underlying assumption in that picture that talent is abundant, that there's a lot of people out there that wants to work for you. There's an underlying assumption that they have their skills ready that we need. If you look at some of the cool stuff, that example I gave on the SediVue, the urine sediment analyzer, we leverage artificial intelligence. How long has artificial intelligence been with us? Not very long. So if I'm looking for that skill, I cannot make an assumption that somebody has that and is ready with it. What do I do with that? And then it makes an assumption, a very bad assumption, that because I'm so cool, of course they're going to choose to work with me, right? The minute I put a job out, they're going to jump up and says, I'm your guy, or I'm your girl. So we needed to challenge some of these. And so we looked at some of the numbers. Abundance. No matter what workforce demographics you look at and workforce demographers analysis you look at, talent pools are shrinking. In the US, it is slowing down. Baby boomers are retiring much faster as compared to the new generations entering the workforce. In the US and Europe, some of these statistics are showing that there is a decline, a negative decline, a decline on that. Then we look at it differently. We look at how long does it take to fill a job. What this graph shows on the left-hand side shows over time the number of days it takes to fill an average job staying open. And what you see with the red line is it is starting to take much, much longer to fill an average job that's opening. That gives us some sort of indication, starting to connect the dots, right? If the pools are shrinking and it's taking longer to fill jobs, there is clearly an issue. I'm not intending for you to read the details on that slide, but then we look at that same throughout all the developing world. And we're starting to see the jobs are open longer and longer throughout the Western world, throughout all developed countries. It's happening. And they are actually open longest in Germany and in the US. Here in Maine, we know our unemployment rate here is below 3%. And in certain areas, in the Portland area, it's almost 2%, right? Same thing in Germany, right? In Germany, the unemployment numbers are ridiculously low. So there is not enough people. So what does this have to do with the number game? It's the bait? That's the bait? No. You hit the other one. At the end, I'll basically have a trivia because I have a few books to give away. Some awesome insights. Any other guess? What does this have to do with the numbers? It's a juicy hamburger. People are not living as long. Well, I can see if you go on a diet of that, yeah. I call this. This is what I refer to as the belly fat factor. When you eat that hamburger, it's very juicy, it's delicious, right? And over time, one morning you look in the mirror and you're like, where did this come from? It creeps up on you. And that's what those numbers are showing. Because if I show those numbers that we looked at, those time to full and the job numbers, it's not as if they suddenly are here and they're in your face. They start happening a little by little, right? And then suddenly we wake up. And we're now in that wake-up stage of, oh my gosh, it's here. We cannot find the talent that we need to help us grow. And so what I'm saying with this one is beware the belly fat factor. Because you're right. You're not beware of the belly fat factor, you may die of it, right? And will this, if we're not aware and do something about the way that we find talent, we will not get the talent to do our business. And that may not spell good for a business. So we need to be very proactive and change the way we do our thing, do recruitment. Summary here, we've seen this, I've shared with you this numbers, is this is the wake-up call. There is not enough people. The demand for specific skills like AI, new skills, technology skills that wasn't there 5 years ago is now there. There's also an underlying assumption that the world economy is growing. And it has been growing, which means more companies fighting for that talent. More companies coming up and saying, wait a minute, I have a business model that relies on artificial intelligence, machine learning, new technologies. I need those skills. So if there's less of those highly skilled numbers, there's more people competing for them, the game suddenly changed dramatically. Now you can say, well, not so sure if the economy, there are some, if you read the financial sector in all of the newspapers, everybody is saying, you know what, 2020, we may start seeing some recession, there are some dark clouds on the horizon. Well, but we know what goes down comes up again, right? And so this might only slow down. It will not change the number of companies fighting for an increased scarce talent, right? Now, we in our company, IDEXX specifically, are looking at STEM-based talent. We're looking at, that is key to the innovation and to what we do, right? And then unfortunately, when we look at the US, we look at number of students studying STEM-based, right? Because, you know, that belly fat factor, anticipating, we need to see where they're gonna come from 10 years from now. Not enough kids studying STEM-based education, right? And so we start seeing some danger signs. And how do we think about this and how do we change this? So with that, of course, we're gonna attract people. We have a great purpose, great innovation, and high growth. So IDEXX, not a problem. We're able to find that talent. Despite the challenges of shortages, despite the challenges. Correct? Yes? No? No. Because we also learned something else about the new generation and the new talent coming in. We put such an effort out there, right? We tell a great story about what we do as IDEXX. And we go out there and we find that talent that says, I want to work for a company with this purpose, with doing cool stuff. And then we get them into the company, and we tell them in the company, and we say to them, this is where I want you to come and work. That's where I want you to do your most innovative work. Yes, and somewhere in there, in Cubeland, that's where you're going to sit. And what do they tell us? Nope. Unless I can have this, unless I can work there or there, I'm not working for you. By the way, these last two are images of our campus, the IDEXX Westbrook campus. So what we've learned, not only is talent scarce, but they make choices, right? Once they start working for you, they're looking at your environment. What is it that you have to offer? And I showed workspace there, but also showed work tools, right? And can I work on a different work schedule? Do I have to work 8 to 5? Do I have to work in the office? And we changed based on that scarcity to saying it's not what I want, is how can we reach the compromise here? So about 7 years ago, we had changed some of our attendance policies, and we literally rebranded them as Life Happens policies, because life happens. We had some very, I would say, archaic, draconian attendance policies. For some people on our customer support, when you have to man a phone, if you're not there at 8 o'clock, that's an unplanned absence, I'll ding you. If you happen to wake up in the morning, you have a fever and flu, and you call in sick, that's an unplanned absence, I ding you. Number 2, 9 of these, you terminated. That's literally how we had some old policies. And we said, we cannot operate in that. In a world where talent is scarce and they make choices and they have choices because there's a lot of other people competing for them and other people that are offering more flexibility, we changed our policies. And we literally called it Life Happens policies. And where did it come from? We said, we have a great purpose. What about the scenario where an employee wakes up in the morning, has 8 occurrences already, 1 more strike, you're out. You're not going to be late today. You leave house early. Your neighbors, you pass your neighbor's house, you see their dog got hit by a car. You have a choice point to make. You stop, neighbor's not at home, you've got to stop, pick up the dog, take the dog to the vet. In which case you will be late, in which case you will have 9 strikes, in which case you will be terminated. Or you do what passionately aligns you with the purpose of IDEXX, you do the right thing, you pick up the dog, you take them to the vet. Why would I want an employee to be faced with a choice like that? Of course I want them to do the right thing, and of course I want them to keep their job. So we introduced Life Happens policies and made it much more flexible. Of course, that puts a little bit of a different stress on supervisors having to manage in the gray. And I'm saying, okay, we put a lot more efforts around supervisor training and manager training and saying, well, if I'm paying you as a manager, maybe that's why I'm paying you as a manager, is to operate in the gray and to figure out this stuff. Because without talent, we're not going to get the job done. And these are the things that we've done to change the ways. So what? One of the things that we looked at here is to say, basically, is doing it the old way is not going to work anymore. Here's my grandma's wisdom. Grandma said, what is the surest recipe for failure today? Is yesterday's recipe for success. You keep doing it once you found out it works, and you keep doing it that way, it's not going to work one day because conditions change constantly. So we needed to change the ways. And here's 4 things that I'm going to share with you, and you will have seen they would have resonated. We've talked about them already. One is be very clear of what we call the employee value proposition. What do you have to offer? Ours is we passionately believe that the human-animal bond improves the human condition. So we formulate an employee value proposition. And we spent about 2 years researching, talking to employees in terms of what should be the IDEXX employee value proposition. And that's what we talk to employees about. The next thing, it takes a village. It's not just the recruiter's job. It is everybody's job. We need to start sourcing talent ahead of need. You can't wait for when you have an opening and then start recruiting, because the numbers are telling us that you're going to take a long time to fill them, an increasingly long time to fill them, based on this scarcity of talent. And then there's a lot of digital tools out there that you can leverage that will help amplify your voice. So I'm briefly going to touch on some of these. For the IDEXX value proposition, IDEXX is a place, this is our value proposition, IDEXX is a place of purpose, innovation, and opportunity. And we have proof points no matter where you work in the company, whether you work in finance or whether you work in research and development or in manufacturing. There is a story that resonates with each one of you. They're all different. These are not scripted. But everybody's story of why they are at IDEXX and why they work in engineering, finance, comes down to, I'm here because I'm passionately aligned with this purpose. I'm here because I like the cool innovation that happens. And that could be in finance. It's not restricted to R&D. Or in HR. We change the traditional ways of doing HR. So the HR people that we attract are the ones that wants to be aligned with innovating in this space. It resonates with them. An opportunity, our growth, we passionately believe that as we grow, we provide opportunities for employees to grow. I spoke to another member, one of your members, and his brother joined us about a year ago. I didn't know him, but he joined us about a year ago from outside, out of state. He's a Mainer that's coming back home. We provide opportunities to come home. We've done an estimation. There's about 500,000, 500,000 Mainers living out of the state. They had to leave for different reasons, very often because there was not jobs here. So what we do is capitalize on that and says, we provide opportunities for you to come back home. That resonates with that opportunity. For me, who honestly, frankly, did not know Maine existed, did not know about the state of Maine, when I heard about the opportunity, is about the opportunity to take a career of 48 years and saying, do I ever want to take that career that I've had around the world and consolidate that to become the head of talent, head of HR? And I said yes, and that was the opportunity for me, right? And that has turned into, wow, didn't know this place existed, love this place, awesome, this is where I'm going to retire, right? So what is your value proposition for your business, for your company? How do you articulate that? And not scripted. These has to be authentic voices. Each person tells that voice authentically. How do they tell that story? Very busy slide, but it takes a village. Here in our case, you know, we have 4 groups: the candidate, the hiring manager, the recruiter, and the IDEXXer involved in the recruitment. And we've seen how the behavior has changed over time. Back in 2015 versus where we want them to go. I'll focus in the interest of time simply on the future. Candidates for the future, very informed, they are in demand, and they have many choices. And I think hopefully I've made the case in terms of some of those numbers to show that that is true, right? That hiring manager needs to be as proactive, and when we say proactive as TA, TA is our acronym for talent acquisition, recruiters, right? So my recruiting firm, they need to be as proactive. The sample that I referred to earlier on of one manager doing this very well was somebody that we hired into software engineering. He was known as an awesome guy in software engineering, a leader. He had followers. And so when we came to IDEXX, we've noticed that in our cafeterias, every now and then, he sits with strangers and having lunch with them. What was he doing? He was bringing people that he knew are very talented in his space, into our space to get familiar with our space and just having catch-up discussions. And then when he had a job open, he called them. Why? Because when they left that campus and they had talked about the cool stuff we do at IDEXX, they left him and saying, please let me know when you have a job for me. What has he done now with that old paradigm of, I have a job open, now let me go and see if I can find something, and the statistics are showing me it's like that is getting longer and longer to find. He has now started sourcing talent ahead of need. And he has already a pre-selected pool of candidates, pre-cultivated pool of candidates ready. So he's flipped that paradigm around, right? That's the hiring manager, not the recruiter, because we don't even know what job is open yet. So the hiring manager has to be as proactive as recruiters. The recruiters have to start becoming more stronger marketeers. They've got to take this value proposition what we have, the employee value proposition, and they need to blast it out there. They need to get it out there, and they need to go and find talent like our friend's brother who doesn't necessarily know a job comes open, but that has an alignment and skill sets that would work for us. They need to market IDEXX out. They need to sell IDEXX, right? And they need to be able to do this with speed. They cannot wait. You cannot interview candidates over a 5-week period and expect that the candidate that you interviewed in week 1, who was your best candidate, is still waiting for you at 5 weeks later for your job offer. They're not waiting for you. They may not be there, right? So when I was at Abbott, we called it a 441. 441. 4 candidates, 4 interviewers, 1 day, you make your decision. Rather get everybody in 1 day, because if you wait 2 days, they probably have another company or another job. If they are open for jobs, they'll probably interviewing somewhere else. So rather make your logistics in such a way that you can have 4 candidates, 4 interviewers, all aligned 1 day, and at the end of the day, you make your decision, and before that person goes to bed that night, he or she needs to have a job offer. That's how companies are starting to compete for it. Why can't you do the same? We are pursuing that. Now, this is not always possible, but those are some of the things we perceive. Source talent ahead of need, we talked about that one, right? We need to get really early in on them. This is almost like, I think everybody is familiar with McDonald's, right? The Lucky Packet, right? Or what do they call it? Happy Meals, right? I don't have kids, I have cats. But that's how they get kids involved, right? And so what do we do to get talent familiar with what you do? And how do you get them excited for it, that they want to work for you? We do a lot. We have a robust intern program. We have about 70 interns every year that we get them involved in IDEXX. And we use our interns not to backfill somebody who's going on vacation or to run errands. We give them meaningful projects that wows them. And what they do, they wow us. Because they come to us with the most recent technologies. I say English is my second language, technology is my 4th language. For them, technology is their first language, right? And they can show us ways how to do things better and faster. So we're leveraging our internship programs to get them meaningful work. And when they do meaningful work, they bond stronger with what we do. And many of them we've turned into, we love their projects so much that we give them ongoing work throughout the year, right? Because their solutions are so innovative and so helping. They help our business grow. So we do reverse learning. as much as we provide them the learning opportunities, what it looks like to work in a business, we learn from them. Leverage digital tools. There's plenty of digital tools out there. Everything from social media, Instagram. Have an Instagram account for your company and allowing employees to just post stuff that you do. Somebody will find it. Cool pictures. Don't control it. We assume we work with adults. Not a policy change we did. We changed our HR policies that is so written for the person who's going to do things wrong. We changed that, and we're saying we're going to manage to the 95, not the 5. The 95% is employees who just wants to do the right thing. Let's manage to that. Let's activate them. How energizing and motivating it's them as people opening policies and it says, well, this trusts me. This is not a policy that governs me, right? The 5%, it was always going to be there. I don't know if it's 5% or 3%, right? It's always going to be there. They're always going to take advantage of it. I'm not going to waste my energies. Good luck to them. Up to them, between them, and whoever they pray to. Between them. It's not my job. I'm not their policeman. And the culture is going to work them out eventually over time, right? But change your policies to the 95%, right? Allow them to use social media. I remember 8 years ago, it's about the time that Facebook started going up. Like, do we allow employees to look at Facebook at work? Well, now we have LinkedIn accounts, Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, and we allow employees to post. Because what it does, it messages your company and what you do in a very authentic way. And when we said new generations have choices, they look for authentic voices. They do not like corporate spin. Advertising, all these fancy things that people do in terms of a hired photographer doing fancy photographs. People look through those and they say they're corporate spin. Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly in an authentic voice. And that's what employees does and allow you, and we're leveraging that. In the interest of time, this is a little bit complex. What we've done is to be a little bit geeky on you here. So we're looking at our recruitment funnel, where everything starts at awareness, eventually going down right down to hiring. And the 3 things we've done, we've implemented from a scalability perspective last year 3 key digital tools. One is called Talent Neuron, right in the awareness phase. Talent Neuron is a Gartner tool, and Talent Neuron scrapes every 24 hours all the databases in the world and will tell you what's going on in talent, right? This is an example of it, and it'll tell me if I'm looking, this example here is for web developers for Java skills in New York. And that will tell me how many current job openings based on job board analysis is there currently. Which companies typically employ them? What salaries are they offered? And then right at the top, you'll see that sort of color bar that says 93. There's an algorithm in there based on this analysis to say what's the relevant difficulty that you're going to have finding this job, so that when my hiring manager comes to us and says, I need a Java developer in New York and I need it tomorrow, I run this and I say 93% difficulty, it's not going to happen so quickly. Here is it. And then the tool, I mean, this is just a snapshot, but it's a rich set of intelligence that comes out around this tool that tells me, wait a minute, where else should you go fishing? Where there is less difficult, more affordable. So we start the discussion up front before we even go fishing. Another tool that we implemented is this one called Phenom People. That's sourcing talent ahead of need. We needed a digital tool and a digital solution to do candidate relationship management. Because how can I scale what that individual does that I showed you in software engineering that brings his friend or her friend to the table for lunch and start doing that? So we implemented Phenom People allows us to, once I have targeted employees and employees want to work with us, but there's no jobs, how can I keep them active? It's a candidate relationship management tool. I think this product is started coming on the market in 2014, so it's relatively new, but it's phenomenal, right? In terms of how it allows us to sort of start pooling candidates that has an interest to work for us, not an interest for the company itself. Not an interest for the company, not an interest for a specific job itself. So that has allowed us now to do it, and this is about 6 months old since we've implemented this. And this is what I call the analogy to salmon fishing. Have you tried salmon fishing in the wild? Very difficult to find. Have you tried salmon fishing in farm-raised salmon? The pool is right there. So why keep making it difficult for yourself than trying to find that one candidate that's way out there? And the final pieces that we've done is workday recruitment. Is so when we have the job, make sure that that is a seamless experience, right? Because there's a lot of technical things that has to happen for you to actually get your job. And so how do you do that from a seamless experience? And so these are 3 big digital tools that we've launched to develop an ecosystem to help scale for IDEXX the whole recruitment perspective. What that one individual has done, we can now scale on a global basis to find talent. That's what we've done. But wait, there's more. You know, that's how if you look at the shopping channels, right? It's like, wait, but there's more. We're continuing to do this. We're leveraging AI. That's what we're going to do next for AI. Is so when we have these candidates, so an example that I'm giving you. So this is an Instagram account. So we have an employee that posts out cool stuff. And there's somebody that scrolls through Instagram, find a picture, says, ooh, this is cool. I'm attracted to this. What is this? They found something out about your company. They look you up, right? And instead of having a recruiter, which is a scarce resource, spending time with thousands of candidates, right? AI, a bot, can start interacting with you as if you are having a conversation with a live person. Takes some training to build that algorithm, but there's a conversation happening. This has already been tested. 83% of candidates that's been tested have no problem having a conversation with a machine with a human name to it, right? But what does that allow us to do now is allowing the recruiter to actually spend time with those people that they need to convince to come on board. So in hindsight, in summary, my time is about up. What we've changed, the whole paradigm of recruiting, the old ways of recruiting, is I have a job, I give it to a recruiter, go find me somebody, then hire them. We turn that upside down by having a clear focus on an articulation of what is our value proposition, getting everybody in the company involved in recruitment and making that a priority. It's not just one person's job. Sourcing talent ahead of need. Do not wait for when you have a job. And leveraging digital tools that's out there that help spread your word. This is my other cat, Manouche, the book and end of this. And she says, you know, she spends and drinks coffee with me. I'm an early riser. I get 5 o'clock in the morning. She's up there. She lies while I'm also doing emails with Europe. Right? She lies right in my, she's like a baby. You know, she turns her side upside down, stares at my face, stares at the computer. When am I going to get attention? Right? She's still with us. Beautiful Maine Coon cat, Manouche. So, do we have time for questions or?
We don't, but you'll stick around, right?
I'll stick around for 5 minutes. No time for questions. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for allowing to share me what I've done.